Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Coffee and Tea with AARP Connecticut, where AARP staff and volunteers engage with Connecticut decision makers about policies and programs that matter to older residents. I'm your host this morning, and my name is John Erlingheuser. I'm the Senior Director of Advocacy and Community Outreach at AARP in Connecticut, and I'm delighted to be joined today by one of our outstanding Connecticut volunteers, Joanne Brandwood. Thanks for being with us today, Joanne. And would you tell a little bit more about yourself and maybe your role with AARP, what you do, what you like?
Sure. Good morning. I'm Joanne Brandwood. I'm a retired public interest attorney and high school history teacher. And since my husband and I moved to Connecticut almost a year ago, we have enjoyed working as volunteers for AARP. We have worked with the advocacy team. We helped evaluate community challenge grant applications. And next month, we're going to be sorting food at an AARP sponsored Connecticut food share facility. So I'm delighted to be here today. And I thank you, Claire, for your time.
Yeah, great
Thank
to
you.
meet you, Joanne.
Thank you, Joanne. And, just your background, which we have folks of all walks of life as our volunteers, and you have certainly an interesting background, and we certainly appreciate all that you do and the varied types of activities that you participate in, which are several hundred volunteers in Connecticut tend to do. So we do appreciate the volunteers who are the backbone of what we do at ARP. So it's also my pleasure to welcome Connecticut Consumer Counsel Claire Coleman. Claire, thank you for joining us today. Could you start off maybe by telling us a little bit about your background outside of being the Consumer Counsel and what other roles you have had in and out of government? I know I've worked with you in various capacities over the years, and I know our viewers would be really interested in knowing about a little bit more about you.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me this morning. It's great to be with you, John, and great to have you on, Joanne, as a fellow public interest lawyer. It's always good to join forces. So I am the State Consumer Counsel. I was appointed in 2021, at the end of 2021, actually, by Governor Lamont to head up the Office of Consumer Counsel. So previously, I had been working in the Office of Policy and Management for the state as the Undersecretary for Legal Affairs. And before that, I worked in a range of roles, from private practice to working for the U.S. House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, which is really where my energy background and interest stemmed. I was the lead attorney on regulatory issues, uh, really with a particular focus of the energy and environmental regulations being debated during the Obama administration. So that was a really exciting time. And then I returned to Connecticut, where I grew up, and have found my way to this incredibly important role as the Consumer Counsel. It really blends my interests and background in policy, advocacy, litigation, and conducting investigations in a way that helps consumers across the state, which is so important. And I feel so honored and lucky to be in this role.
Well, I know I'll turn it over to Joanne, who has a question right up that alley, actually.
Exactly. It is an important role, but I bet a lot of our viewers are not aware of the exact details of what it is you do. Can you give us some of those details?
Sure, I'd be happy to. We do such important work, and you're right. We tend to not have the broader public understand our role, so I'm really happy to provide a little bit of insight. Our office, the Office of Consumer Counsel, was actually founded 50 years ago. We just celebrated our 50th anniversary. And it's an independent state agency by statute. And our obligation is to advocate and represent the interests of ratepayers, of consumers of utility products, in both regulatory proceedings, judicial proceedings, and really anywhere we see value for the benefit of consumers. Our, our core mission is to ensure that consumers are really receiving safe, quality, and affordable energy or water or gas. We participate in PURA proceedings. We'll talk a little bit more about rate cases, but that is sort of our bread and butter to represent consumer interests when utilities seek rate increases. We also do work before the legislature. That's where John and I get to have the most fun together, where we work on policies that help benefit consumers and protect consumers. And then we do work federally and regionally as well in the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, as well as with our regional grid operator, ISO New England. We have a seat at the table to advocate for Connecticut consumer interests there as well. So it's really a blend of state, regional, and federal work with the aim of ensuring customers are well represented in their interests in the utility regulatory space.
I'm going to leave it with you, Joanne. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so there are a lot of different industries that you oversee and that your office intervenes with on behalf of ratepayers. Can you just specify which industries though they are?
Sure. So we primarily are engaged in the regulatory process with electric, natural gas, and water. Those are the regulated public service companies. And then we also do work on the telecommunication side, which are not rate regulated, but there are a lot of consumer protection and safety and quality of service issues that we monitor on that side as well. So on the electric side, that would be Eversource, of course, which has almost 80% of the state consumer base, and UI has the remaining 20%. On the gas side, Yankee Gas, which is owned by Eversource, and then CNG SCG, which is owned by UI. And then on the water side, we used to have a lot of different water companies in Connecticut that were regulated, and over the years they have been consolidated. So we have two investor-owned regulated utility companies, Aquarian and Connecticut Water. And then we have two smaller investor-owned utilities, Hazardville and Jewett City. And those are companies that we participate in the regulation at PURA, including the rate cases that they seek.
Huh. Now, what are some of the major proceedings that the PURA is deliberating over? For example, I've read a lot about a big rate increase request that's coming in from Eversource. Are you involved with that?
Yes, we are. So it's been in the news lately that Eversource has filed what's called a notice of intent to file a rate case. They haven't actually submitted their full application yet. They'll do that by July 14th, but their notice includes some important information, including how much they anticipate seeking and how that will impact customer bills. So we know that they're going to be seeking about $500 million on top of what they already receive. They currently have about a $4.5 billion revenue requirement. And I should pause and explain what a revenue requirement is, because it's sort of a weedy rate making term. It basically means how much money the company needs to cover all of its operating expenses, the services they provide to us, as well as what's called a reasonable rate of return, because they are a regulated monopoly. So then in the rate case, we debate how much they actually really need and what that level of authorized return should be. And that's where our job really comes in to provide evidence and argument to represent the customer view and make sure that PURA is only allowing the companies to obtain the amount of money to pay for those things that are really essential, are really going to help customers and benefit customers in the end.
Claire, I know that's amazing work that you do, and certainly AARP will be there
Yes.
providing expert testimony, as well as making sure ratepayer impact is heard, because we worked to ensure that regulators had to take ratepayer impact into account, as well as all of the other factors. So we'll be there for that. What about,
Great.
I know you mentioned one of the other investor-owned water companies, Connecticut
Yes.
Water, and they have a big proceeding they're just starting that you're working on as well, that AARP will also get involved in. So why don't maybe just spend a few minutes talking about the Connecticut Water as well?
Sure. We actually have proceedings both with Connecticut Water and Aquarian happening. They were filed just months apart, so we're incredibly busy. With Connecticut Water, they have sought about a 20% increase, and we're currently digging into their application, really at the initial stages of trying to identify areas that we think can be cut back, while of course supporting, critical infrastructure and in the water industry, a lot of the investments are going towards compliance with health and safety regulations like PFAS remediation, lead pipe removal. So, our job is to support those efforts, but make sure they're done in the most cost-effective way that don't impose unnecessary costs on consumers. And then Aquarian, filed actually just before Connecticut Water, and they're seeking about a 42% increase in their revenue requirement. So we're actually in the process of developing testimony for that case as well, to again go through the same process of, with a fine-tooth comb, looking at what they're asking for and seeing, where we can cut back to make bills more affordable for customers while ensuring that these companies are providing quality and safe service.
That's great. I really do appreciate all the work that you're doing across all those sectors, and it's been great being partners with you on all of these things, and the great work that you and your team do. So let me ask you this: with the cost of living being what it is today, we have all kinds of inflationary pressures, and people are really having difficulty making ends meet and have to really make some difficult choices, when it comes to utilities and how much electricity they use and how much oil they use and how much gas they use. Wh- You know, what are some of the ways that ratepayers can get assistance in either helping them pay for various utility bills if they qualify, and or doing things in their home that can help reduce the amount of energy that they use?
Really great questions, and it's so important in this time where, inflationary pressures are getting us not just with utility bills, but with all of our household expenses. There are a lot of programs out there to help consumers with the utility bills. The first sort of main program is a federally funded program called Connecticut Energy Assistance Program that's run by DSS. And anyone whose income falls at about 60% of the state median income can obtain a SEEP. And you can do that by going to DSS's website, or really the easiest way to access it is by going to portal.ct.gov/heating help. And that actually provides some links not only to SEEP, but to some of the other programs I'll mention, which include the utility run programs. Depending on your income, there's a range of programs from matching payment programs to a low income discount rate to flexible payment programs that really anyone, regardless of income, can access. So if you're having trouble managing your bill, you can get an extension and spread out those costs over a longer period of time. So you can directly contact your utilities and they can give you that range of options as well. But importantly, if you are currently a customer who receives a DSS benefit like SNAP or the state supplemental for the aged, blind, and disabled, or a supplemental nutrition program, you actually should automatically be receiving that low income discount, as well as protections that are designating a customer of what we call financial hardship, which prevents shutoffs during winter months and provides access to these other programs. So lots of resources out there, and I do encourage customers, regardless of income range, to reach out and seek support, because this is a really hard time to be managing all of these different essential services and household costs. I
What are,
think, John,
oh,
you asked about
yeah, the con
conservation.
yeah, conservation, because I think that's, one of the ways that actually customers have at their own hands to reduce usage and bills.
Yes, we have a favorite word and a favorite website, energizect.com. We are very lucky in Connecticut that we have a centralized hub that has trustworthy information on it, both for energy efficiency programs, and also that's where information about third-party electric suppliers are. Our standard service rates, which are the electricity supply that UI and Eversource provide, have been relatively stable, but there are opportunities for customers at times to find lower rates. Now, we always caution because those rates are fluctuating more frequently than the standard service rates, and it's really important for any customer who engages in the rate board to make sure that they're actively monitoring that. But there is resources on the third-party supplier market, on conservation programs, and on solar programs as well. And we recommend that because it's really the go-to place. And I will caution customers when you're going to Energize CT, if you Google it, let's say, some other promotional companies or aggregators are getting at the top of that Google list. So you really want to make sure
Right.
that you are on energizect.com and you see all the logos of the state agencies and of Energize CT, and make sure you're clicking on those links as opposed to any third-party links, which may not be as reliable.
And that's super great advice. And we actually, when we do our volunteers do our presentations, that's exactly one of the tips that we give folks is to make sure you spell out
Yes.
energizect.com and not Google it, because again, those advertisers come up and not necessarily that they're fraudulent, but they're only going to tell you about their products and not necessarily what might be the best deal for them that somebody else is offering them. And I would be remiss if I didn't commend all of the partnership AARP has done over the years with the Office of Consumer Counsel and you, Claire, and the office about policing the third-party electric supplier market to where I would say we have one of the strongest set of consumer protections in the country, and actually are making the market work for consumers. And they still have to be diligent, but again, we do a great job.
Yeah, I mean, the AARP, I know you've been working on these issues a long time. It is to your credit that customers can go out to the third party market and have protections like no, teaser rates. Customers can always terminate a contract with a third party supplier when they find out it's not a good deal for them anymore. And that's really thanks to a lot of the advocacy work you've done over the years.
Well,
So we're very grateful.
we appreciate that. And I think our last question we're gonna leave to Joanne.
Um, Claire, if ratepayers want to have their voice heard on proceedings before the PURA, what are some of the ways that they can do that?
Sure. A really great, important question. We have been working on doing outreach to encourage more public participation. Public participation is really so important. There are a couple ways to do it. You can write letters and submit them electronically. You don't even have to know the docket number or proceeding number. If you just write Eversource rate case or Aquarian rate case, the Pura will find the right docket and get your submission in. There's an email that collects all of those. It's pura.executivesecretary@ct.gov. So that's a way to write in. And I know the AARP does some really great petitions and collects comments from its members that are very powerful. OCC, we rely on those over the years, and we put those in our legal briefs. We put important quotes that reflect the views of the public and the views of AARP members to really demonstrate what the impact of these rate increases are on families. And we also put up alerts regarding public comment meetings or public comment hearings, which happen around each rate case. So there will be public comment hearings for all of these rate cases we just talked about coming up: Aquarian, Connecticut Water, and of course Eversource. And we will help spread the word. And I know John will help spread the word that you can come out in person and voice your opinions about the applications and what the companies are seeking. So we
You know,
really encourage that as well.
yeah, and I often talk about some of the beneficial unintended consequences of the pandemic were things like our ability to do what we're doing here, taping this show virtually, or but we also now have the ability to attend public hearings. I know Pure has been very good about ensuring that at least one of the hearings for every one of these
Yes.
rate cases is virtual, so people can participate right from their own home. So that's a really
Yes.
great thing that happened.
Thank you for flagging that. Yes, so there's one in person and one virtual for each rate case, so you have flexibility on what's feasible, and we really encourage anyone to come out and raise their voice.
So let me just ask you one last thing, and then we'll wrap up here. But I know you mentioned it again, but is there any other important information you'd like to give folks? Like, how could they contact your office? I know we talked about the rate board and where to go for important information, but what if ratepayers wanted to be in touch with the Office of Consumer Counsel? How would they go about doing that?
Sure. So I did want to put a plug in for our new YouTube page, which has some training videos about how you get involved with the OCC. And
Awesome.
then you can go to our website and contact us directly at 860-827-2900. We also have an email hotline, occ.info@ct.gov, where consumers can ask us any questions and we'll help either answer them directly or get you to the right entity to help you answer your questions.
That's awesome. Joanne, any closing words from you that you'd like to impart?
No, just thank you very much for all. I found this really interesting, so I hope the viewers did as well.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
it's
they
been really
will.
fun to talk with you, and I really enjoy the work that we do together in partnership, and appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, Claire, and thank you, Joanne, for being a great volunteer, Claire for being such a great advocate on behalf of ratepayers. And I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in to another episode of Coffee and Tea with AARP Connecticut. Be sure to join us for future episodes and catch past ones on demand right here on our Facebook page or on our YouTube channel. If you want to make a difference, you could scan this QR code to become an AARP electronic advocate, e-advocate, and help us advance policies that matter to Connecticut's 50 plus communities, like fighting rate cases when we need to get our voices heard. So thank you all for joining us this morning and hope to see you all again.